Imagine the moment. Jesus carrying the cross, feeling the weight not only of the wood, but of all humanity's fears and anguish. What might have gone through his mind? How did he face the fear and find the strength to keep going? In this video, we'll explore this intimate and powerful struggle between fear and hope, revealing lessons that can inspire you to face your own challenges. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, lost, or afraid of not being able to overcome a hardship, stay with us. This story of courage and resilience has something profound to teach, a hope that can transform how we face our darkest moments. This was a time marked by a divided society, where oppression and the search for hope were part of everyday life. The Jews lived under Roman rule, an empire that maintained control with an iron fist and used cruel methods of punishment to keep order. Crucifixion, one of the most painful and humiliating execution methods of the Roman Empire, was reserved for those considered the most dangerous criminals and those who threatened the established system. By being condemned to this fate, Jesus not only faced physical pain and psychological suffering, but also bore the weight of judgment from a crowd that often mocked and rejected him. Crucifixion was a public act, a spectacle of horror meant to send a clear message. Anyone who defied Rome's power would face severe consequences. By being condemned, Jesus became a symbol for many, and his suffering resonated in the minds and hearts of those around him. His journey to Calvary was marked by a silence full of meaning, as he bore not just a wooden structure, but the hopes and expectations of his followers, as well as the rejection of others. This moment brought a paradox between what he preached and what the established system saw as a threat. The struggle between faith and authority, between redemption and punishment, was symbolized in that path. This brutal historical context intertwines with a deep spiritual dimension. Jesus was seen by many as the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who would bring new light to a world full of injustice and pain. His message of love, compassion, and forgiveness was revolutionary and provocative, challenging both religious leaders and the Roman government. He walked toward his destiny fully aware of what lay ahead, which leads us to wonder what might have passed through his mind. He may have felt an even greater weight, realizing the incomprehension of those around him, and he may have faced moments of doubt and sadness, seeing the intensity of the rejection he endured. As Jesus walked toward Calvary, each step was not just physical, but also spiritual. In his heart and mind, he carried the weight of a mission that, at that moment, seemed to human eyes to be failing. His purpose, however, transcended earthly judgment and suffering. The idea of sacrifice he bore was a direct connection to something divine, a mission that would go beyond that time and place. We can imagine that amid pain and exhaustion, Jesus experienced moments of questioning and even loneliness, as suggested by his words on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me?" In Christian tradition, this phrase reveals the depth of Jesus' human experience, who, despite his divine purpose, went through the sensation of being alone in his suffering. This feeling of abandonment that he expressed is something many of us face in times of crisis, when it seems all strength has left us and there is no way out. By experiencing this, Jesus showed his connection to the human condition in its essence, feeling the same anguish we do when we go through difficult situations and feel there is no one by our side. Jesus' spirituality was therefore an intense mix of love, sacrifice, and redemption. He believed in a higher purpose, even when that purpose seemed to fade in the face of suffering and rejection. His inner strength became an example of spiritual courage, challenging any rational understanding and showing the depth of his faith. Viewing this journey from this perspective, we can reflect on situations in which we are tested, moments when it seems everything we fight for is being defeated. And it's here that Jesus' story challenges us. How far are we willing to maintain our hope and purpose in the face of adversity? In this video, the goal is to reflect on this spiritual courage, questioning how we can apply these concepts to our own lives. Jesus' journey, in all its pain and complexity, invites us to face our own challenges with the same determination and resilience. Jesus did not give up, even in a moment that seemed to be the end. This is the power of the human spirit, a power within each of us, a power that enables us to keep moving forward when all seems lost. By analyzing the context and deep meaning of his crucifixion, we realize that this story offers a richer understanding of what it means to have hope and faith in something greater. It's not just about enduring suffering, but finding purpose in it. The historical and spiritual understanding of Jesus' sacrifice is a lens through which we can see our own daily battles, an invitation to discover strengths we may not realize we possess. This story helps us see that, no matter how dark our moments may be, we can always find a spark of light to guide us. After all, Jesus' message transcends time and culture, touching the human heart with a promise that, even in our worst moments, there is hope. And perhaps that's the first great lesson we can take from this journey. Each of us is capable of finding purpose and meaning amid chaos, of bearing our own crosses and moving forward, no matter how challenging the road may be. Jesus' journey to Calvary reveals an intense battle between fear and hope, a conflict that symbolizes the human condition. In carrying the cross, he bore not only the physical weight, but also a profound emotional and spiritual burden. This burden was not something that required only his physical strength. It touched the most intimate fibers of his humanity, confronting him with doubts and anxieties. In this struggle between opposing emotions, Jesus exemplifies how fear and hope intertwine in moments of pain and difficulty, giving us a powerful image of resilience and purpose. Fear is a universal emotion, an innate reaction to any imminent threat or suffering. It's possible to imagine that, as Jesus walked toward crucifixion, fear permeated his thoughts. Fear of physical pain, of loneliness, of abandonment, and even of death likely surfaced. Like all of us, he was human and experienced these emotions with the same intensity that any of us would feel when facing a situation of extreme suffering. This fear was not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of his humanity. In this context, fear doesn't represent a lack of faith, but a natural response to what he knew was coming. Yet alongside fear was hope. For Jesus, hope was not an escape from suffering, but a strength that allowed him to endure what he faced. This hope was rooted in his faith, in his commitment to a greater mission. He believed that his sacrifice would be meaningful and would bring spiritual transformation to those who followed him and to future generations. This clear vision of purpose and mission gave him extraordinary strength, allowing him to balance fear and find a reason for each step, even though the path was intensely painful. This coexistence of fear and hope is something we all experience. In times of great suffering or doubt, fear can easily dominate our thoughts. We feel the urge to give up, to find an escape route to avoid the suffering that lies ahead. Observing Jesus' path, however, we see that true strength lies not in avoiding fear, but in facing it. He teaches us that fear can coexist with hope and even serve as a gateway to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our purpose. Jesus' struggle with these opposing emotions offers an important lesson. Fear, instead of being an insurmountable obstacle, can be an opportunity for growth. When he accepts his human condition, allowing himself to feel fear and still moves forward, he gives us an example of how to face our own challenges with courage. This example challenges us not to run from what frightens us, but to see fear as a force that helps us understand our limitations and, at the same time, to overcome them. For us, hope is also an anchor in moments of difficulty, something that moves us beyond pain and gives us strength to keep going. The story of Jesus shows us that hope doesn't eliminate fear, but it gives us a reason to continue. It is this hope that transforms fear into an experience of strengthening. into a test of faith. He knew that, by going through that suffering, something greater would be achieved. Similarly, when we have clarity about the purpose of our actions and our faith in something bigger, we can face what scares us and move forward, even in the face of pain and uncertainty. This lesson is particularly powerful when we think about our own lives. How many times do we find ourselves in situations that seem unbearable? How often are we confronted with our own fears and hesitate to take the next step? The story of Jesus reminds us that we can find the courage to keep going, even when the pain seems unbearable. He teaches us that true strength comes from within, from a hope that transcends fear and gives us the certainty that there is a purpose in every challenge we face. In observing Jesus' struggle, we see that he did not deny fear. He accepted it as part of his experience, transforming it into an element of his courage and faith. The hope that moved him was more than a desire to escape suffering. It was a deep belief that his pain had a purpose and that his mission was greater than himself. This hope is something we can seek and cultivate in our lives, especially when facing our own paths of suffering. However, reaching this balance between fear and hope is not simple. It requires a deep understanding of ourselves and of what we believe in. For Jesus, his mission was clear, and this gave him the strength to face even the darkest moments. In our lives, we may not have such an evident mission, but the search for meaning and purpose can give us similar hope. Finding something worth fighting for and believing in, even in times of uncertainty, can help us transform fear into a source of strength. Jesus' example also reminds us that we don't need to face our challenges alone. His journey was marked by the presence of people who supported him, like Simon, who helped him carry the cross, and the women who wept for him. This support reminds us that hope can also be nourished by those around us. In difficult moments, seeking support and sharing our struggles can help us strengthen our own hope and give us the courage to continue. The struggle between fear and hope that Jesus faced is a powerful image of overcoming. He teaches us that fear is a natural part of the human experience, but that hope is the force that allows us to look beyond it and keep moving forward. This balance between fear and hope is something we can all cultivate, remembering that even in the most difficult situations, there's always a purpose, always a light that guides us. Hope gives us the strength to face what lies ahead, and fear, when accepted and understood, can help us gain a new understanding of ourselves and our mission. Jesus' journey to Calvary is more than a story of suffering. It is one of the most powerful lessons of resilience and courage ever told. Every step, every pain he endured, reveals something fundamental about the human capacity to endure, to stand firm in the face of difficulties, and to find meaning in adversity. His determination to continue, even knowing what awaited him, teaches us the importance of unwavering faith and courage that goes beyond physical, emotional, and spiritual pain. The first lesson of resilience we can learn from Jesus' walk is the value of a clear and deeply rooted purpose. Jesus was not simply following a destiny. He believed his sacrifice held greater meaning, something that touched not only his life but the fate of all humanity. This greater purpose gave him the strength to face adversity, for he saw his pain and suffering as a means to achieve profound and lasting transformation. In our own lives, when we face difficult situations, what sustains us is this clarity of purpose. Knowing why we are facing something and the impact it can have on the future gives us the strength to bear the weight of our personal crosses. Another essential aspect of the resilience Jesus demonstrates is acceptance of reality, even when that reality is painful and hard to bear. He did not deny the pain that awaited him, nor did he try to avoid it. Instead, he accepted his fate with serenity and dignity, seeing it as an opportunity to manifest his faith and love for humanity. This acceptance allowed him to face the cross with courage. In our own lives, resisting or denying what we are experiencing can weaken us, as we spend energy trying to escape the inevitable. Acceptance, on the other hand, allows us to focus our energy on what we can control and stay calm in the face of difficulties. It reminds us that, in many situations, the wisest path is to embrace reality as it is without succumbing to despair. Jesus' courage on his journey also reveals itself in his ability to remain true to his values and principles, even when challenged to the limit. He could have given up, renounced his mission, or succumbed to despair, but he chose to continue, staying true to what he believed was right. This fidelity to his values is a pillar of true resilience, for it keeps us connected to what is most important to us. In moments of great pressure, this connection to our values gives us the strength to act with integrity, even when the world around us seems to be falling apart. Being resilient often means knowing how to stay true to who we are, what we believe in, and what we know is right, regardless of the circumstances. Besides his commitment to purpose, Jesus teaches us an important lesson about the role of support and solidarity in times of suffering. On his path, he met Simon of Cyrene, who was called upon to help him carry the cross. This gesture, though forced, symbolizes the importance of human support in times of difficulty. Even though Jesus had profound spiritual strength, the physical and emotional weight of suffering was immense. Having someone by his side, even briefly, helped him complete his journey. In our lives, the support of others can be essential to our resilience. Relying on family, friends, or even the help of strangers in times of crisis can make a significant difference. This lesson reminds us that we don't have to carry all our burdens alone, and that accepting help is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of wisdom. Jesus' example also shows that resilience is not just about individual strength, but also about connecting with something greater than ourselves. For him, this connection was in his faith, in his mission to bring redemption and transformation to humanity. This spiritual purpose gave him a broader perspective and helped him see his suffering as a small part of a larger whole. In our lives, resilience can be strengthened when we are connected to a purpose that goes beyond our own desires and immediate concerns. This connection may lie in a cause that inspires us, a faith that sustains us, or an ideal that guides us. Having something greater to fight forgives us the strength to endure hardships with a broader vision, knowing that what we do has meaning and purpose. Additionally, Jesus teaches us the power of transforming pain into something positive. His suffering on the cross, far from being in vain, became a message of love and compassion that continues to inspire and transform lives to this day. He shows us that by accepting and integrating pain, we can turn it into an experience of growth and healing. In our lives, pain can lead us to deep places of reflection and transformation. When we face suffering with an open heart, we often discover new layers of strength, resilience, and wisdom within ourselves. By seeing pain as an opportunity for learning, we can transform it into a source of personal and spiritual growth. These lessons of resilience and courage that Jesus offers are not just abstract ideas. They're practices we can apply in our daily lives. Every adversity is a chance to cultivate inner strength that allows us to move forward, even when the path is difficult. Jesus' story reminds us that suffering is a natural part of life, but what we do with that experience is what truly matters. We can choose to strengthen ourselves with the lessons that pain offers, thus finding meaning and purpose amid difficulties. The resilience that Jesus demonstrates is a reminder that we can endure more than we imagine, especially when connected to something greater than ourselves. Pain, which often seems unbearable, can be transformed into an experience of learning and growth. This transformation happens when we accept reality with courage, keep our purpose in mind, and seek support when needed. Just as Jesus found the strength to move forward, we, 2. Can find within our own lives the capacity to face challenges with courage and faith. Each step Jesus took toward Calvary shows us that true resilience is born from acceptance, purpose, and the courage to keep going. His journey teaches us that, regardless of circumstances, there is an inner strength in each of us that can be activated when connected to a purpose that transcends our existence. With this in mind, we can find the motivation to face our own journeys, transforming our pain into paths of growth and overcoming. The lessons of resilience and courage demonstrated by Jesus as he carried the cross are not just inspiring ideas. They have the potential to become practical tools we can use to face our own challenges. We all, at some point, carry a personal cross, an emotional weight, an unexpected difficulty, a loss, or any circumstance that requires courage and patience to endure. Jesus' story teaches us that it is possible to get through these moments with purpose and hope, finding the strength to persevere and transform pain into growth. One practical lesson we can draw from his journey is the importance of finding meaning in what we face. Jesus endured extreme suffering because he believed that his sacrifice had a much greater purpose. When he saw himself as part of a divine plan, each step, however painful, gained deeper meaning. In our lives, finding a purpose for what we go through can be a source of resilience. This may mean considering the impact our efforts may have on our loved ones, on our personal growth, or even on how our experiences may help others. Having a purpose, however small, gives us motivation to keep moving forward, as we know our challenges can have a positive effect beyond the present moment. Another practical application is accepting the reality we are living in. Instead of fighting against pain or suffering, Jesus accepted his situation. He did not reject or avoid it, but faced each stage with his mind and heart focused on something greater. In our lives, acceptance does not mean giving up. On the contrary, it helps us focus on what really matters. When we accept reality, we release the energy that was spent trying to avoid or deny suffering. We can use it to handle the situation in the best way possible and find solutions. Accepting what we cannot change allows us to face pain with greater serenity, opening space for the learning and growth that may come from the process. Loyalty to our values and principles is another central aspect of resilience that we can apply in our lives. Jesus remained faithful to his mission and to what he believed was right, even under the extreme pressure of an unjust condemnation. In our lives, this loyalty to values gives us a solid foundation to endure times of crisis. Having clarity about the principles that guide our actions helps us make conscious decisions and act with integrity, regardless of the circumstances. This integrity strengthens us and reminds us that we are building something more lasting and meaningful in our lives, something that transcends difficult moments. Another practical teaching we can apply is the importance of support and solidarity. On his journey to Calvary, Jesus received help from Simon of Cyrene, who was called to carry the cross with him. This act of assistance, though initially forced, represents the power of human support in difficult times. In moments of crisis, seeking and accepting support from friends, family, or even strangers can be crucial to our resilience. Sharing our struggles is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. Mutual support strengthens bonds and reminds us that we are not alone in our challenges, that there is always someone willing to share the load with us. Connection to something greater is another teaching that Jesus exemplified and that we can integrate into our lives. For him, this connection was his faith, his mission of redemption and transformation for humanity. In our lives, this something greater can take different forms: a cause that motivates us, a faith that sustains us, or even a life project that inspires us. Having a connection with something beyond our immediate interests gives us a broader perspective and a reason to persevere in difficult moments. This connection helps us see our challenges as part of a larger whole, giving a sense of continuity and hope that strengthens and motivates us to move forward. Another powerful lesson we can apply to our lives is the ability to turn pain into an experience of growth and learning. Jesus, by facing the cross, made his suffering a message of love and forgiveness that transcended his time and continues to inspire the world today. In our personal journey, we can find ways to transform pain into something positive. This does not mean that suffering becomes desirable, but rather that it can offer us new understanding of ourselves and others. When we see pain as an opportunity for growth, we become more resilient and develop the capacity to endure future adversities with more maturity and compassion. The role of hope is also an essential lesson that we can incorporate into our lives. Hope, as Jesus demonstrated, is not a denial of suffering, but the ability to see beyond it. In times of crisis, cultivating hope is essential for our emotional and mental well-being. We can develop hope through simple practices like gratitude, which helps us remember the good things that still exist in our lives, even in difficult times. Hope allows us to maintain a vision of the future and strengthens us by reminding us that, despite challenges, there is always the possibility of better days. This positive outlook helps us face problems with more energy and resilience. Applying these lessons in daily life means making resilience a constant practice. When we face difficulties, these practices help us find the strength to move forward. Jesus shows us that suffering does not need to be the end, but can be the beginning of a new phase of growth and transformation. His lessons are reminders that pain is temporary, but what we learn and how we grow during these times stays with us. By incorporating these teachings, we can turn our lives into a path of overcoming and purpose. These lessons of resilience and courage show us that we are capable of enduring and growing amidst difficulties. Jesus' example inspires us to seek within ourselves the strength needed to face any challenge that comes our way. Each adversity is an opportunity to strengthen this inner resilience and to develop a deeper understanding of who we are. Jesus' journey to Calvary reminds us that suffering is part of the journey, but that we have the ability to find light and hope even in the darkest moments. Jesus' lessons are not just distant principles. They are real practices we can use to transform our lives. Instead of seeing hardships as an end, we can view them as part of a process of learning and overcoming. This journey of transformation allows us to develop a new understanding of ourselves and life, an understanding that helps us find purpose and meaning, no matter what happens. Applying these lessons makes us see that true courage and resilience come from within and gives us the confidence to face the future with faith and determination. Observing Jesus' journey on the way to Calvary, we realize that one of the most powerful forces that sustained him was hope. This hope, even amid pain and suffering, allowed him to continue, grounding each step with courage. In our own challenges, fear is a natural reaction. It arises when we are faced with situations that seem insurmountable, moments when uncertainty and pain threaten to paralyze us. However, the lesson Jesus offers is that hope can be stronger than fear and guide us through the most difficult situations. Hope, in the context of Jesus' life, was an unwavering trust in the purpose of his mission and the conviction that his sacrifice would not be in vain. He knew that his pain had meaning, a greater reason, and this certainty gave him the strength to endure the physical and emotional agony he bore. In our lives, hope can be cultivated in various ways and at different times. It is that spark that reminds us that however challenging the situation, there is something beyond the suffering. This something could be a belief in a better future, a purpose we have yet to fulfill, or even the certainty that, by overcoming the difficult moment, we will become stronger and wiser. Overcoming fear with hope is a practice that requires patience and determination. In many moments, we may find ourselves consumed by worries and doubts, wondering if we will have the strength to continue. However, cultivating hope is precisely the ability to look beyond the present circumstances and envision a more positive horizon. This does not mean ignoring fear or difficulties, but recognizing that they are temporary and that our ability to endure can lead us to a better state of life. Jesus teaches us that hope is the anchor that keeps us steady amid storms. On his walk to Calvary, he did not deny his pain or his fear, but he allowed hope to be the force that guided him. Similarly, in our lives, hope reminds us that there is something worth fighting for, and that, even in the darkest moments, there is always a light ahead. This light may be the certainty that we are progressing on our journey, the confidence that our current suffering will make us stronger, or even faith in a greater purpose that we cannot yet see. Cultivating hope as an antidote to fear requires practices that nourish our minds and hearts. In times of crisis, prayer, meditation, or simply reflecting on the positive aspects of our lives can help us strengthen this hope. By recalling memories of overcoming or imagining a future where challenges have been conquered, we make hope more tangible and accessible. These daily practices help us maintain perspective and remember that, despite moments of pain, fear does not need to have the last word. Jesus' journey also shows us that hope is a source of resilience when we are connected to something greater than ourselves. His mission transcended his own life, impacting those around him and inspiring future generations. In our lives, finding a greater purpose, whether in our family, community, or a cause we fight for, gives us the strength to keep moving forward. When we dedicate ourselves to something that surpasses our personal interests, hope becomes stronger and fear loses some of its power, as we know our efforts have an impact beyond the present. One way to overcome fear with hope is to build a support system. Jesus had the emotional support of his disciples and followers, who, even from afar, prayed and believed in his mission. In our lives, cultivating bonds of support can strengthen our hope and remind us that we are not alone in our challenges. Friends, family, or mentors can serve as sources of encouragement, helping us envision a positive future when fear tries to paralyze us. Sharing our fears and hopes with those we trust can lighten the emotional burden and strengthen our sense of purpose. Hope can also be cultivated through the ability to envision ourselves in the future after we've overcome the present moment. Visualizing our own journey of resilience and imagining how much stronger and more resilient we'll be after the crisis helps us maintain perspective and courage. This exercise allows us to project a future where fear has been overcome and where the lessons from the experience have become part of who we are. By looking to the future with optimism, we create a positive mental image that can guide us even in the most difficult moments. Hope is a reminder that fear is temporary and that our circumstances do not define who we are or what we can achieve. Jesus taught us that hope is a choice, a decision to believe in something greater than the present pain. In our lives, by choosing hope, we decide to look beyond suffering and recognize the potential for transformation it brings. Hope is the fuel that enables us to keep going, step by step, even when the path is hard. The story of Jesus carrying the cross leaves us with an eternal message of courage and hope, a message that continues to resonate and inspire generations. His journey is not just a narrative of suffering and sacrifice, but a testimony to the transformative power of faith and perseverance. In the midst of pain and fear, he found the strength to keep going, showing that even in the most challenging situations, there is a source of resilience we can all access. His message invites us to face our own challenges with the same determination, with the trust that, no matter how dark the moment, there is always a light ahead. In our own lives, we can be inspired by his example to cultivate unwavering faith in the purpose we seek. Jesus showed us that true strength does not lie in the absence of fear or pain, but in the ability to endure them with dignity, always keeping sight of a higher purpose. In times of crisis, This faith reminds us that each difficulty has the potential to transform us, to teach us something essential about who we are and our capacity for resilience. Thus, each step we take toward our purpose, even when painful, strengthens us and prepares us for what lies ahead. The message of hope and courage Jesus conveyed is also a reminder that we are not alone in our challenges. Just as he received support on his journey, we too can seek and offer assistance. By sharing our struggles and supporting one another, we find that hope and strength multiply. The presence of someone who believes in us may be exactly what we need to face difficulties with renewed courage. Jesus' journey reminds us that solidarity is a powerful force and that, by walking together, we can face and overcome any challenge. The conclusion of his path shows us that by facing our fears and persevering with faith, we have the power to transform our pain into a legacy of love, compassion, and inspiration for others. Jesus not only overcame suffering, he transcended it, leaving a message that inspires and strengthens those who seek to face their own crosses. When we allow our own story to be guided by hope and love, we find meaning even in the hardest situations, and we become capable of leaving a positive and lasting impact on the world. The final message of his journey is clear. Courage, hope, and faith are the anchors that sustain us in times of suffering. By applying these teachings to our lives, we transform our own challenges into journeys of growth and resilience, capable of inspiring and strengthening those who walk beside us. May we move forward with the certainty that, like Jesus, we are capable of bearing our crosses and finding, at the end of the path, the light that has always been with us.